Good afternoon, Year 11s. Welcome to Citizenship. Today's lesson, we're going to be looking at the media, informing and influencing. So this is going to be another reteach lesson, really linking and reflecting on that exam that we did in November. So, doing activities. So you are going to complete that low stakes test on this document. And then you are going to answer question 3. What does the word bias mean on the separate document with all the questions that you need to answer from today's lesson? All right, just a really gentle reminder that the work from today's lesson needs to be completed and submitted to me on the Google Classroom by the 22nd of January 2021, so this Friday, okay? If you have any difficulties in submitting work on the Google Classroom, can you please make sure you email that work to me so that I can give all of you feedback from the work that you've produced from today's lesson, so that all of you are completing that work well and know how to make improvements to your understanding of the media, of your work in the future ahead. Okay, so question 3, what does the word bias mean? That is a very easy response, easy question to answer, and I want you to think about that one. What does the word biased mean? Okay, so moving on with today's lesson. So the big question for today's lesson is, why do you think people in this country believe that the media produces unfair and false information sometimes? So that is the big question. So when you leave the lesson today and do that document, do that work from today's lesson, you should be able to understand and believe why some people, not everyone, why some people in this country believe that the media is unfair and that the media that we listen to, that we read, that we consume every day produces false information sometimes. We're also going to understand how the media can be biased, and we're going to understand who has influence and control and influencing the media every single day. All right, so some really good keywords on the right-hand side of the slide. So you've got media, you've got control, you've got influence, which isn't on there, but it's a really good keyword. You've got biased, you've got editor, political spin, and last but not least, you've got ownership. Some really good keywords that you're going to come across in today's lesson today. Moving on, so facts and opinions expressed in the media. So much of the media, such as YouTube, newspapers, magazines, TV, internet, radio, social media, all these media platforms, they inform the public about what is going on. However, often puts a spin on it. If there's a spin on the information provided, that is called biased. So what does biased mean? So biased means information in favor over one thing than another, unfairly. Okay? That's what biased means. When information provided is unfair, when information provided is in favor over one thing than another. Perfect, moving on. So what leads to biased information being produced? So what influences the media to be biased? Who influences the media to be biased, to be one-sided, to be unfair with the information that's been provided? So I'll give you loads and loads of really good examples. Okay, so one really good example is ownership. So a newspaper or television news program like the BBC News can choose the stories it wants to tell the public. So that is one way that information could be biased from the media. When organizations who have control over their programs, over their media, choose the stories it wants to tell the public, choose the stories that makes them popular, that makes them unique, and also telling stories and telling information that is in favor of their ideas, which can come across very unfair. Also, another way that the media can be really biased is the editor who is responsible for what the information is written or said. So every media platform, whether that's the BBC News, that's TV programs, magazines, newspapers, the radio, they all have editors who are responsible for what the information or what information is written or said. So if this editor, for example, okay, is in favor and supports Boris Johnson, pretty much all the information that this editor is going to provide is going to be supportive of what Boris Johnson thinks and what he believes, which makes it really biased to a certain extent. Okay, moving on. Furthermore, most of the time the editor has the same views as the owner of that media platform. So for example, The Sun, BBC News, Metro, ITV News, they all have editors that are in support of the owner of the program or magazine or newspapers. And these editors, they produce biased and interesting information that is in favor of these owners, that supports what these owners believe, and in doing that, the owner and also the editor makes a lot of money, a lot of profit. Furthermore, what else can create and influence really biased information? So, politicians employ and pay spin doctors who write their stories to get them in the news. Okay? So if you are a politician, like for example, Boris Johnson, he could employ, or he has employed spin doctors in the past to write stories that makes him really popular, that makes him more supported, even though he might make really bad decisions in his political career. By employing spin doctors, those spin doctors will only produce biased information about him, which is really positive, which makes him look really good so that he stays in power. And it also, by spreading it in the news, it makes him more popular. It makes people not exposed to the negative things that are happening in the world and in his political time in office. Furthermore, what else leads to biased information? So the Murdoch family, so Rupert Murdoch, he runs companies such as The Times, Sunday Times, The Sun, and Sky TV. Okay, he's really, really rich. He's also a conservative as well. So these media platforms, these newspapers, are more than likely and to support conservative views and upper class and conservative ideas in favor of their ideas and what they believe. And that is what people are being exposed to in terms of the media, and that's what is being shared in the media under the Murdoch family for the Times, the Sunday Times, the Sun, Sky TV, etc. Okay, so the big check. So we've covered some really good aspects of how the media is really biased. So what does biased mean? That's your first question, the big check. Number two, what are different media platforms? So really think about what kind of different platforms we have in the media, like for example YouTube. We have Instagram, social media, newspapers, we have radio, TV, internet. So what organizations can produce biased information? So think about some of the organizations that are in the media. What kind of organizations have we come across that can produce biased information? And then number four, why do you think the media may be biased sometimes? So really think about what you've learned about the media, who has influence over the media, and how it can be biased sometimes. So for example, politicians. What do politicians do to make that makes the media biased? What do organizations like The Sun, BBC News do to make the media biased? What do editors do to make the media biased? Think about that, okay? Use those lesson slides to help you answer those questions as well, year 11s. Okay, so the exam question for today's lesson is a very easy one. So explain 2 reasons why the media we consume, that we are exposed to, that we read, that we watch, that we listen to can be biased. So explain 2 reasons why the media we consume can be biased. So Sentence starters. One reason why the media can be biased is because maybe of editors. To explain, what do the editors do? What do the editors do in the media that makes it biased? Think about that one. Okay. Point, explain, 4 markers. Do that within 5 minutes. That's how long you should be spending on a 4 marker, and get that completed to a really good, outstanding standard that will get you the 4 marks you deserve for that question. So why is the media biased? That's what it's asking you for this question. Explain why the media is biased.